She wakes up every morning at 6:30 without an alarm. She makes her own breakfast. She tends her garden. She drives herself to church on Sundays. And last month, she turned 93 years old. Her name is Dorothy. And when I asked her what her secret was, she didn't say anything fancy. She didn't talk about expensive supplements or complicated routines. She looked at me and said, "Grace, I just never stopped moving, and I never stopped caring." That stopped me in my tracks, because it's so simple. And yet, most of us drift away from both of those things as we get older without even realizing it. Today, I'm going to share the 6 daily habits that Dorothy, and honestly, many of the most vibrant, independent people I know over 90, quietly practice every single day. These aren't hard. They don't require a gym membership or a doctor's prescription, but they do require a little intention. I'm Grace, I'm 81 years old, and I live on my own. I grocery shop, I cook, I manage my own affairs, and I'm doing just fine. Thank you very much. So when I tell you these things work, I'm not reading from a textbook. I'm living it. Stay with me because near the end of this video, I'm going to share the one thing that most people over 70 get completely wrong. And it's not what you would expect. It's not about diet. It's not about exercise. And once you hear it, I think it might change the way you look at your whole day. Let's get into it. Secret number 1. Keep your body moving, even just a little every single day. Now before you think, "Grace, I already know this one." Hold on, because what I'm about to say is probably not what you've heard before. Most people think exercise means a workout. They think it means changing into special clothes and doing something difficult for 30 minutes. And when that feels like too much, which honestly some days it does, they do nothing at all. Dorothy doesn't think about exercise that way. And neither do I anymore. What Dorothy does, and what I've started doing too, is simply refuse to stay still for too long. That's it. That's the whole secret of this one. Every hour or so, she gets up and moves. She might walk to the kitchen and back. She might do a few slow arm circles while she stands at the counter. She might march in place for a minute while the kettle boils. It looks almost silly from the outside, but here's what's happening on the inside. When we move our bodies regularly throughout the day, we keep our circulation going. We keep our muscles from getting stiff and weak. We keep our balance systems, the little signals between our feet and our brain, alert and working. And all of that together is what keeps us upright, steady, and out of the emergency room. Researchers who study older adults have found that sitting for very long stretches, we are talking 2 or 3 hours at a time, starts to work against us. It affects our blood pressure, our blood sugar, and our muscle strength. Even just standing up and walking to another room every 45 minutes to an hour makes a measurable difference. Now, I want to be very clear here. Before you start any new movement routine, please check in with your doctor first, especially if you have heart disease, joint problems, or any condition that affects your balance. This is gentle, common sense movement. But your doctor knows your body best, and it's always worth a quick conversation. The step I want you to take from this section is very small. Just set a soft reminder on your phone, on a sticky note, on a timer on the stove for every hour. When it goes off, stand up, walk to another room, come back. That's enough to start. You can absolutely do this. There's no speed requirement. There's no right way. The only wrong move is no move at all. Dorothy told me she does her arm circles while she watches the morning news. "Nobody's judging me," she said, and laughed. I love that. And speaking of things we do every morning, let me tell you about secret number 2, which quietly protects one of the most important things we have as we age, our brain. Secret number 2, give your brain a little workout. 2, I want to ask you something. When was the last time you learned something new? Not just watched something familiar or read the same kind of book you always read, but really tried to learn something you didn't know before? I'll be honest, A few years ago, I realized I had gotten very comfortable. I was watching the same shows, reading the same authors, talking to the same people about the same topics. And I noticed I felt a little foggy, a little slow. Dorothy, at 93, is sharper than people half her age. And when I asked her about it, she said she makes herself do at least one thing every day that makes her brain work a little harder. For her, it's crossword puzzles in the morning. She's been doing them for 40 years. But she also started learning a few words in Spanish last year, just because her neighbor's granddaughter speaks Spanish and Dorothy wanted to say hello to her properly. At 93, learning a new language, a few words at a time. Now, here's the science behind why this matters, and I'll keep it simple. Our brains, even as we get older, are capable of forming new connections. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, which is just a fancy word for the brain's ability to change and adapt. When we challenge our minds regularly with new or slightly difficult tasks, we help keep those connections strong and even build new ones. This has been linked to better memory, sharper thinking, and a reduced risk of cognitive decline, which means a lower chance of our thinking and the memory getting worse over time. A study following older adults over many years found that people who regularly engaged in mentally stimulating activities, things like reading, puzzles, learning new skills, or playing card games, had a significantly lower rate of memory loss compared to those who didn't. And the good news? It doesn't have to be hard or fancy. Here are a few ideas that are completely doable. A crossword puzzle or word search. A jigsaw puzzle. Learning to play a simple card game you've never tried. Reading a book in a genre you don't usually pick up. Trying a new recipe. Learning the name of a flower you've never grown. Writing a letter by hand. Even reorganizing a drawer in a new way can nudge your brain into paying attention differently. The key is novelty and a little bit of challenge. Not overwhelming, just a small stretch. Pick one thing this week, just one. Something that makes you think, I've never really done that before. That's where the magic is. And now, secret number 3. This one might surprise you. It surprised me when I really sat with it. Because it's not about doing more, it's actually about something most of us skip entirely. Secret number 3, protect your sleep. Like it's precious. Because it is. Let me paint a picture for you. You've had a poor night's sleep. Maybe you woke up at 2 a.m. and couldn't get back to sleep. Maybe you tossed and turned. You get up in the morning and everything feels harder. Your balance is a little off. Your mood is lower. You're a little slower to think of words. You feel unsteady. Sound familiar? Poor sleep isn't just uncomfortable. For those of us over 60, it genuinely affects our physical safety, our mental sharpness, and our emotional well-being. Falls are more likely when we're tired. Memory is worse. Our immune system, the body's defense system against illness, doesn't repair itself as well. Dorothy sleeps 7 to 8 hours most nights. She goes to bed at the same time every evening and wakes at roughly the same time every morning. And she is deliberate about this. She doesn't stay up late for television. She doesn't let her schedule get wild on weekends. She protects that routine the way she'd protect anything she valued. Here's something I find fascinating. During sleep, our brains actually go through a kind of cleaning process. There's a system in the brain, scientists call it the glymphatic system, that essentially flushes out waste products that build up during the day. Some of those waste products, if they accumulate over time, are associated with cognitive decline. In plain words, good sleep helps your brain clean itself, and that's remarkable. So what can help if sleep has become difficult? Because I know for many of us, it has. First, the basics. Keep your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet if you can. A consistent bedtime, even within 30 minutes of the same time each night, helps train your body's internal clock. Limit caffeine afternoon if you're sensitive to it. Caffeine can stay in our system longer as we age. Avoid bright screens, phones, tablets, televisions, for at least 30 to 45 minutes before bed. The light from screens can tell your brain it's still daytime and make it harder to wind down. A short, gentle routine before bed helps too. A warm cup of herbal tea, a few minutes of slow, deep breathing, reading something calm. These are signals to your nervous system that it's safe to rest. And if sleep is seriously disrupted, if you are waking repeatedly, if you snore heavily, if you feel exhausted despite being in bed for 8 hours, please bring that up with your doctor. There are conditions like sleep apnea that are very treatable and make an enormous difference in quality of life. You deserve good sleep, not as a luxury, as a health necessity. Let's pause here for just a moment. Take a breath with me, in through the nose and out slowly through the mouth. Good. That right there, that simple breath, leads us into secret number 4. And this one is so easy, so free, and so underused that I think it might be the most underestimated tool any of us has. Secret number 4. Breathe well and manage your stress. Your heart will thank you. Here is something Dorothy said that I wrote down immediately. Grace, I made a decision a long time ago that I wasn't going to let worry eat up the time I have left. Now that doesn't mean she has no worries. She does. She's lost friends. She's had health scares. She's worried about family. Life doesn't get simpler just because you get older. Sometimes it gets more complicated. But what Dorothy has developed over many decades is something researchers call stress resilience. It means she has real, practiced ways of letting tension move through her instead of sitting in her body and building up. Why does this matter physically? Because chronic stress, the kind that never fully goes away, the kind that sits in your chest and your shoulders for days or weeks, has real effects on the body. It raises blood pressure over time. It affects sleep. It weakens immune function. It can contribute to inflammation, which is linked to many of the conditions we most want to avoid as we age: heart disease, joint problems, cognitive decline. And here's what I want you to understand. Managing stress doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means giving your nervous system regular chances to come down from high alert. The single most effective and immediate tool for this costs nothing and requires no equipment. It's slow, intentional breathing. When we breathe in a slow, controlled way, especially making the exhale longer than the inhale, we directly activate the part of our nervous system that calms the body down. Doctors call it the parasympathetic nervous system. You can think of it as the rest and digest switch, as opposed to the fight or flight alarm. Here's a simple practice. Try breathing in for a count of 4, then out for a count of 6 or 8. Do that 5 times. That's all. You can do it sitting in your chair right now. You can do it when you wake up in the morning. You can do it in the car before you go into an appointment. It costs nothing. It takes less than 2 minutes, and it genuinely works. Dorothy also swears by her garden, not for the plants, though she loves the plants, but for the quiet. 15 minutes outside, hands in the soil, nothing demanding her attention. That is her stress medicine. What's yours? I'd love for you to think about that. What is the thing that genuinely helps you feel calmer? Is it a short walk, a cup of tea in a quiet corner, music you love, calling a friend who makes you laugh? Whatever it is, make it a daily habit. Not a treat for when things get bad. A daily habit. And before I move on, this feels like a good moment to pause and mention, if you're finding these reminders helpful, I'd love for you to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Every week I share practical, honest advice for living well as we get older, from me to you, one conversation at a time. And drop a comment below and tell me which of these secrets feels most important to you. I read every single one. Now, secret number 5. This one involves something we do several times every single day, and yet most of us over 60 are doing it in a way that quietly works against us. Secret number 5. Eat to fuel your independence, not just to fill the hour. I want to be very careful here because nutrition is personal and individual. And what works well for one person may not be right for another. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a doctor. If you have conditions like diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, or anything that affects what you can safely eat, please work with your own healthcare provider on what's right for you specifically. But I can tell you what Dorothy does. And I can share what many doctors and nutrition researchers consistently find in people who age with good health and independence. Dorothy eats mostly real food: vegetables, fruit, whole grains, beans, eggs, fish, and a little meat. She doesn't follow a complicated plan with a brand name. She just eats food that looks like food. Food that didn't start as something unrecognizable and get processed into a package. She also eats enough. This is something I want to say, gently but clearly. As we age, our appetite often decreases. Our sense of smell and taste can diminish, which makes food less appealing. And there can be a quiet tendency to just eat less, without realizing how much we're shortchanging ourselves. But our bodies need fuel. Our muscles need protein to stay strong. Our bones need calcium and vitamin D. Our brains need healthy fats and B vitamins. When we consistently undereat, we lose muscle mass, we get weaker, our balance suffers, and we become more vulnerable to illness and falls. Dorothy is deliberate about eating enough protein. For older adults, protein is essential for maintaining muscle strength. Good sources include eggs, fish, chicken, beans, and lentils, Greek yogurt, and cottage cheese. You don't need enormous amounts, just a reasonable portion at most meals. She also drinks water consistently. Not because she always feels thirsty, and here is something very important. Our sense of thirst actually decreases as we age. We can become dehydrated without feeling thirsty. Mild dehydration can cause confusion, dizziness, and fatigue in older adults. Dorothy keeps a glass of water on her kitchen counter and makes a point of drinking throughout the day. One thing she does that I have also adopted: she doesn't eat alone if she can help it. She calls a neighbor to share lunch twice a week. She has a standing Sunday dinner with her daughter's family. Eating with others, research consistently shows, leads to eating better, eating more regularly, and feeling more connected. Which brings us beautifully to secret number 6. This is the one I promised you, the one that most people over 70 get wrong. And I think when you hear it, you'll understand why it matters so deeply. Secret number 6, stay connected, because loneliness is a health risk, not just a feeling. I need you to really hear this one, because our culture doesn't always talk about it the way it deserves to be talked about. Loneliness is not just feeling sad. It is a documented health risk with real physical consequences. Studies, including a major analysis that looked at data from hundreds of thousands of people, have found that prolonged social isolation increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, dementia, and early death. The numbers are serious. Some researchers have compared the health effects of chronic loneliness to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I know that's striking. I know it might be hard to hear, but I'm telling you because I believe you deserve honest information, not comfortable half-truths. And here's what makes this particularly relevant for those of us over 70. Life naturally creates distance. Friends pass away. Family members move. Mobility becomes harder. And gradually, without anyone intending it, many older adults find themselves spending most of their days alone. Dorothy has made staying connected one of her non-negotiable priorities. She is involved in her church. She has a standing phone call with her sister every Tuesday afternoon. She has a neighbor she walks with on Wednesdays. She's part of a small group that meets monthly to read books together. And when her phone rings, she answers it. None of those connections are complicated. None of them require a lot of money or travel. They are just consistent, intentional threads of contact with other human beings. Research on people who live into their 90s and beyond, and there's been quite a lot of it in recent years, finds one thing that shows up again and again strong social connections. Not just family ties, though those matter, but friendships, community, a sense of belonging to something beyond your own four walls. Now, I want to speak to something directly, because I know that for some of you watching this, loneliness isn't a small problem. It may be a large one. You may have lost a spouse. You may have moved to a new place later in life. You may have health challenges that make it genuinely hard to get out and see people. If that's you, first, I want you to know that what you're feeling is real, it's valid, and it's something many people share but few talk about. You are not unusual, and you are not invisible. Second, there are steps, even small ones, that can help. A phone call is connection. A video call is connection. Joining an online community around something you care about is connection. Volunteering, even once a month, is connection. Becoming a regular at a local coffee shop or library is connection. Even a brief conversation with the person behind you in line at the grocery store is a small thread of human contact. The science tells us that what matters is the quality of the connection. Feeling heard, feeling cared about, feeling part of something, more than the quantity. You don't need 20 friends. You need a few real ones. And you need to tend those relationships the way you'd tend a garden. Dorothy said something beautiful about this. She said, "At my age, I know that people aren't going to be around forever, so I don't put off the call. I make it today. Make the call today. Write the card. Accept the invitation, even when the sofa feels comfortable. Your body needs that connection just as much as it needs movement and food and sleep." Now, the thing I promised you earlier. I said I'd share the one thing most people over 70 get wrong, and I hope by now you're starting to see it. It isn't any one habit on its own. The thing people get wrong is thinking that staying independent means handling everything alone. Staying strong means never needing anyone. Aging well means being self-sufficient in every possible way. But every vibrant, independent person I've ever known, Dorothy most of all, understands something different. They know that connection is not a sign of weakness. Reaching out is not a burden on others. Letting people into your life is one of the most powerful, practical things you can do for your health and your independence. The people who age most beautifully aren't the ones who needed no one. They're the ones who stayed open, who kept showing up for others and for themselves. That's the secret inside the secrets. Let's recap what we covered. Today, I want to take just a moment and walk back through these 6 things together so you can hold on to them. Secret number 1, move your body a little every single hour. Not a workout. Just don't stay still too long. A short walk. Arm circles. Standing up and sitting back down. Keep the signals flowing. Secret number 2, give your brain a small challenge every day. A puzzle, a new recipe, a few words in a language you've never tried. A small stretch is enough. Secret number 3, protect your sleep. Keep a consistent schedule, cool down the room, step away from screens before bed, and talk to your doctor if sleep is seriously disrupted. Your brain needs that nightly cleaning cycle. Secret number 4, use your breath as medicine. Slow, deliberate breathing, especially a long exhale, tells your nervous system it's safe to relax. Do it daily, not just in a crisis, and find your own version of Dorothy's garden. Secret number 5, eat real food and eat enough of it. Protein at most meals. Water throughout the day. Don't eat alone if you can help it. And talk to your doctor about what's right for your specific health situation. Secret number 6, stay connected. Call the friend, join the group, tend the relationships. Connection isn't extra, it's essential. Loneliness is a health risk, and you are worth protecting from it. 6 habits, all of them gentle, all of them real, all of them within reach. Dorothy, the woman I told you about at the very beginning, 93 years old, tending her garden, driving herself to church. She is not exceptional because of her genes, though I'm sure those don't hurt. She's exceptional because of her choices. Small choices, made consistently over a long lifetime. And here's what gives me the most hope. It is never too late to begin. You don't have to have done all of these things for 40 years to benefit from starting today. Research consistently shows that people who begin gentle movement, better sleep habits, more social connection, and brain challenges, even in their 70s and 80s, see real improvements, real ones. You're not too old. You are not too far along. You are exactly where you are, and you can take one small step from right here. I am 81. I live independently. And every day I learn something from people like Dorothy who are ahead of me on this road, still going strong, still full of life. I hope today gave you something useful. I hope it gave you a little encouragement. And I hope the next time you feel the urge to sit still for too long, or skip the phone call, or skip the puzzle, or skip the glass of water, you remember Dorothy, and you remember that these small things truly do add up. Please check with your doctor before making any changes to your exercise diet or health routine, especially if you have existing health conditions. Your doctor is your partner in this, and they want to help you thrive. Now, in my next video, I'm going to talk about something that I get asked about more than almost anything else. What to do when you feel invisible, when you feel like the world has moved on without you, when you wake up and wonder what your purpose is now. That one is coming up very soon, and I think it's going to mean a great deal to a lot of you. Until then, keep moving, keep connecting, and be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think. Take good care, dear friend.